Thanks again. And again, this is Team Georgia Marketplace for the Southeastern Technical College. And if you have any other issues, feel free to shoot me a text message through the chat functionality on the webinar, and we'll address those as well. As far as business process issues and support issues, the contact list would be with your college. The main contact would be with your VPA, Denise Powell. And your SiteQuest administrator is Lauren Hoffman and Les Salter. And training coordinator is Les Salter. And your P-card administrator is Les Salter and Denise Powell. So any process issues as far as how to route and what particular transaction should go through the Team Georgia Marketplace process, please feel free to contact those individuals first, and they'll contact the Procurement Help Desk to address any issues that they have that they can't answer for you all. Okay? And what we'll walk through today in this webinar, we'll walk through three major sections of the webinar, and I'll address three different groups of folks. The first will be shoppers and approvers. The second will be PeopleSoft requesters. And the third will be buyers. And we'll break in between each one of those particular breaking points in the webinar to allow for questions as well as for individuals that it may not pertain to in the second section. So we intend for this webinar to go roughly 2 hours. Depending on the questions, we'll see if we go that distance as well. But we will have a breaking point in there for you all. Okay, and feel free throughout the presentation to use your question and answer functionality or chat section on your webinar tool to ask questions. And as I get through the presentation or webinar, I'll address those questions, and in the breaks we'll definitely address those questions as they pertain. Okay. So the first thing what we'll do we'll walk through sort of the shoppers and cart approvers functionality for you shoppers out there. And these are individuals that do not log into the PeopleSoft software there. So if you're a current Windows shopper, it'll pertain to you, and this functionality should replace that functionality as you go on in the next day or two of functionality. Okay? And as we log in, you'll be requested to change your password. And I'll just log in quickly to show you what I mean from the software. This is the SiteQuest homepage that you see on your screen there. And what you'll do when you get your login from your SiteQuest administrator, you'll be So the first process, what we'll walk through in this particular webinar, we'll walk through submitting a request as a shopper. Then with the next step, in between a break, we'll talk about how to approve that request. But before I go that, I'll pull up another document here that'll sort of walk through the process as an overview. So from the SiteQuest side of the house, I was given some information by your core team, so I'll sort of tailor this particular webinar towards Southeastern on the SiteQuest side of the house. So just as an overview, we'll have a shopper, Franklin Beasley, as the initial shopper, and Franklin will route his request to Sarah Gross. So that'll be the first approver in there. And Sarah will make the decision to either submit that requisition to a PeopleSoft requester, which would be Lauren Hoffman or Laney, or she would submit it to Paul Graham or Gail Weir, your IT or Perkins approvers. So that's the process we'll walk through today, sort of walking through that process with catalog purchases and non-catalog purchases. Okay? So what I'll do, I'll log in initially as Franklin Beasley. And before we go with the actual shopping, I just want to point out a few things. When you all log in as a shopper account for the very first time and you get to your main home page, if you look up at the top left, you'll see a profile link. So if you click on that profile link, that's where you'll have the ability to change some of the initial setup information for yourself. So if the phone number needs to be corrected, you all have the access to manage that and correct that as well. Email address should be accurate, but there are any changes, you can make changes to that. Your username will be grayed out, so you won't be able to change that once it's created. Okay? And most importantly, change your security question. We've set up a dummy question for you all. You want to go ahead and change that security question. You have several options here to define your own questions or select the predefined questions for you and set that to an answer that you know. Easy to remember. Okay? So you'll do that when you first log in. Replace your security question with one that you're familiar with as well. Okay? So I'll just navigate back to Franklin Beasley's home page. And I apologize to any of the users that were using the system. If you've been getting emails over the past couple of days, that's just been test transactions going through, so you can't ignore those emails that you have received. Okay? So what we'll do, we'll initially start with a transaction that's a non-catalog item transaction in the system. So as a shopper, you're going to log in and just do normal shopping. And what you'll see when you log in for the very first time, you'll see a home screen with several icons, and we'll address those icons further in the presentation. But the first thing we want to address is a non-catalog item purchase. So you'll see this link at the top right, non-catalog item purchase. And you'll see a dialog box that appears. So what you'll do in this dialog box, you'll begin to type best vendor for a non-catalog purchase, and you'll see it populate as you begin to type. So go ahead and select it. And you'll see at the top here it says best vendor. The vendor name has been selected. And you'll just proceed to put in the description for the type of purchase or service that you're procuring at that point in time. So I'll just put in a description here. Furnace replacement. I'll just put it in. And there is no if you don't know a part number, particular part number, you can leave it as none. We'll do a quantity of 2, an estimated price of 150s, and units of measure, we'll just choose each from the drop-down box. And you can just click Save and Close. Easy as that. And what you'll see in the top right, you'll see your cart being updated in the far right with the pricing as well. So if you chose to add an additional item, you can just click on non-catalog item again to add an additional item. So let's go ahead and do that for this particular webinar. And again, I'll begin to type best vendor, and it'll show up there. And I'll just type in furnace installation. Okay. And again, no part number for this particular service. We'll do a quantity of 2 as well, and a price of $100, and a unit of measure of each. We'll keep that, and we'll do a save and close. And you'll see my cart updates in the far right of the screen. So what you'll do as a shopper, you'll go ahead and click on your cart when you're ready to proceed there. And what you'll see is your cart summarized on the very next page, listed under your active carts here, because you're actively working on it as Franklin Beasley. Okay? And what you can do, once you review your cart information, you'll go ahead and proceed to checkout. And from this proceed to checkout screen, you'll see several tabs in the middle of your screen to the left, and a summary tab as well. On this summary tab, this is where you can review your your cart information as well as enter attachments and comments as well. Where you'll enter your comments are with this edit button in the middle of the screen where you see my mouse at. There is a comments button across the top, a tab. You don't want to enter your comments there or they will not transfer over to the PeopleSoft requisition. What you'll do, you'll enter them at this edit button. This ensures that they do transfer over to the requisition for the requester to review. And so within this particular dialog box that appears, you'll enter your comments. I'll just enter some general comments, and you'll also enter a cart description, which will make for easy querying of your cart in the future. Okay. And if you'll just click Save, you'll see your comments appear on the front of the screen here where I have highlighted. Okay. And if you had attachments for this particular transaction, this Add Attachments link in the middle of the screen on the left here highlighted, I'll go ahead and click on that. And you can enter a file name. Or just enter Furnace Pictures file name, and you have a button here for Choose File to find the actual file and browse your hard drive for a particular file. I'll just choose, go ahead and click Open and Save, and you'll see that particular file populated on the screen, this furnace picture. Okay, and you can review that by clicking on it and to pull up that picture, and it'll download. And it'll pull up the file, furnace picture. Okay. And you can add additional attachments by just clicking on and adding additional attachments to this particular transaction, or remove any attachments as well. Okay. So I've added as a shopper. I've shopped for my services, created it, punched out, did a checkout. I've added comments, added in attachments, and I can review the history of my actions. So I can see from the Histories tab that I've added 2 lines to my requisition, what I've modified, the description and requests, and added attachments. So the system keeps a running audit of all the actions that you've done pertaining to this particular cart. And we'll see when we get into the approvals of this cart, all that information is tracked as well in the system as well. Okay. So once I'm satisfied with adding my comments and attachments to my particular transaction, I review the summary of the cart. I can go ahead and click on Assign Cart up in the far right here, this blue link. And when I click on that Assign Cart link, what I have here is Sarah Gross pre-populated for me as an assigned cart. So and under that name I have a Select from Profile Values. If I click that and click the drop-down box, I have a list of approvers. For Franklin, I only have Sarah populated as a potential assignee for this transaction. But if there were multiples, you see a list here, and we'll see that in the next approval step here. Okay. Or some of you may actually have ability to search for all the particular users available within your business unit and just do a search and pull back a user to assign this particular cart to. We won't do it in this particular example, but you sort of have 3 options. One that's pre-populated for you as your preferred, being Sarah Gross, or you can use a list of profile values in the drop-down box, or you can do a search. And depending on your particular user setup, you'll have these options as well. So I'll just go ahead and put a note to the assignee to please approve. And the notes that I put to this in this assignee box will show up in the email, in an email directed to Sarah Gross. They will not transfer over to the PeopleSoft requisition, but it will show up in a note to Sarah Gross, as well as my history as well. Okay. So I put my comments in, I'll click the Assign button. Okay. And I get a screen that's telling me that congratulations, your cart was successfully assigned to further review. And you can see the comments here that I put in as well. Please approve. And these also were sent in an email to Sarah Gross as well. And what I'll do, refresh my email. Let's see if it came to me. So I'll give it time to refresh. We'll come back to it, and it should have sent an email to myself as well. Okay. So that's assigning it to the first assignee in the chain. So if I go back to my Word document in summary, Franklin Beasley created a cart, and he assigned it to the first level approver, Sarah Gross. So then next we'll log in as Sarah Gross and reassign it to one of our individuals, IT or Perkins, or have the option to assign it to our PeopleSoft requester, Lauren or Laney. Okay. Okay, and I'll just pause here quickly briefly before I move on, just to check for any questions on the shoppers function before we step into the approving piece. Okay, I don't see any questions so far. And I understand that, I know that Laney or Lauren did a brief training session for Southeastern, so I'm sure she did a wonderful job, and I'm just reinforcing what she discussed as well. So we've submitted it to the first approver, Sarah Gross. So we'll log out and log in as Sarah Gross to see from that perspective, first approver. Okay. Okay, so I've logged in as Sarah Gross from her perspective, and if I look to the left, the bottom left of my screen here, under Action Items, I'll see an Approvals link. And if I click on that, expand that Approvals link, I'll see My Assigned Approvals and Carts Assigned to Me. So as Sarah, I'll go ahead and click on Carts Assigned to Me, and I'll see the Furnace Replacements East that we just created. And so if I want to activate this particular cart from Sarah's perspective, I'll just go ahead and click on the link. And I see the same view that the shopper had when he created the cart, sort of a summary of the screen. And from Sarah's perspective, I can return the cart back to the shopper, or I can just proceed to checkout from Sarah's perspective. And again, I see that same summary page, requisition summary, where I can view the comments by clicking on the edit button. And I can view the attachments or add additional attachments. So from Sarah's perspective, I can just click on the attachments and view the same attachments. Okay. And I can also view the history as well. So I can see from Sarah's perspective history, I can see that Franklin at the very top line has assigned this particular cart to Sarah with the comments of please approve. Okay. And so from Sarah's perspective, I'm going to review the cart information looks good to me, and I'll just click on Assign Cart in the far right. And again, so from Sarah's perspective, she doesn't have a preferred assignee listed. So she just has the option to select from profile values or search assignees. So if I click on that, select from profile values, and click on the drop-down box, I see 3 individuals in her pool of assignees: Gail, Paul, and Melanie. Melanie is filling in as the requester for Lauren in this particular environment. Okay. So from Sarah's perspective, I'm going to select Paul and put a comment. Please approve Paul. Okay. And click Assign. So again, same, congratulations, your cart was successfully assigned to further review with the comments. Please approve Paul. And an equal email was sent out to Paul saying that he has a cart to approve as well with these comments in the email message. Okay. So again, I would log out as Paul. And again, I'll just, in summary, so Franklin created the cart, assigned the cart to Sarah, and Sarah reassigned it to Paul because it required further review. And so we'll log in as Paul now. To further approve the cart. I'll log out as Sarah here. Log in as Paul Graham. And what I'll do, since I'm having a little issues logging in as Paul, that's a great example to show you what Laney or Les would do as SideQuest admins. I'm going to log in and adjust Paul's. So I'm just resetting Paul's password, and this is the actions that your SideQuest admin will happen. So typically, on the PeopleSoft side of the house, you would contact SAO. So now with the new functionality, you'll contact your SideQuest administrator to do that function. Okay. Okay. And most of you, when you log in for the very first time, you will be faced with this particular screen to change your password because we did preset your password as well. So don't be alarmed when you see a screen like this. Majority of you shoppers will have to change your password as well once you log in for the very first time. And your SideQuest admin will give you your temporary password. Okay. So I'm on Paul Graham's homepage, and again, at the far left under Action Items, you'll see Approvals. And under my assigned approvals, you'll see carts assigned to me. Okay. And again, I see my one cart that's available, furnace replacement east. And again, the same summary screen of all the previous folks in the chain. And I'll just proceed to checkout from Paul's perspective. And again, Paul has access to all the comments and attachments for review, as well can add additional attachments. And if I review the history from Paul's perspective, I can see that in the top 2 rows here that Franklin assigned it to Sarah and Sarah assigned it to Paul with the comments as well. So all that is tracked. And as this gets, a little long, you can filter out what particular information actions you want to see. If you just wanted to see approvals, you can just click on that and click apply as your history gets a little long, just to see the approval chains. Okay. So from Paul's perspective, he's satisfied with the transaction, and he will look to assign the cart further. And in particular Southeastern's approval path, the next person in the list would be the actual PeopleSoft requester. So in this particular instance, the name Melanie Spencer is filling in for Lauren Hoffman or Laney. Okay. So I'll just put a comment in here. Please create requisition, assign. Again, the same confirmation page. Congratulations, cart was successfully assigned for further review. And now the PeopleSoft requester has received an email with this information saying that a cart is available to be turned into a PeopleSoft requisition. Okay. So before I move on, I'll just check for any questions that are submitted. And bear with me as I read through a few of the questions here. Okay. Okay, I don't see any questions that are pertaining to this particular session. A lot of folks confirming that their audio issues were fixed on their end. Okay. Okay. And the next thing what we'll do in the particular presentation, so we've created a cart, a non-description cart, non-catalog purchase. We've submitted it for approval to our first level approver, and then we've submitted to the second level approver, and the second level approver has submitted it to our PeopleSoft requester for approval. Okay. And just review back on the presentation. So the next thing what we'll do, we'll actually create a punch out of statewide contracted purchase from a shopper's point of view. And one thing I do want to point out that I didn't cover in the last section. So for that non-catalog purchase, we selected best vendor as the vendor. So if you're a shopper and you know the actual suggested vendor, you would put that in that comment section. So we clicked on that requisition summary page, the edit button where we put the comments. That's where you would place the suggested vendor for the PeopleSoft requester to go ahead and apply that on the requisition. And again, don't use the comments tab. Use that edit button to place the contracts, to place the comments. Okay. And if you have any questions about sort of, who to assign your transactions to, at that second level, you saw from Sarah's perspective, she assigned it to Paul as well, or she had the option of assigning it to a Perkins individual. So please contact your agency advisor for any questions on who to assign. Hopefully we've populated the proper drop-down boxes for your preferred under your ID, but if not, please contact your agency advisor for any information as far as who to route transactions to. And on assigning transactions to different approvers, there will be quick reference guides that are provided to all those on the call today. And we'll give those links to your core team, provide folks that are not on the call as well. And again, we're recording this particular webinar as well, so you'll be able to come back, and all those on the call as well, we're going to provide this particular presentation to as well. Okay. So we sort of walked through, assigning it to the PeopleSoft requester. Our next step, again, we're going to go back into SideQuest from Franklin Beasley's perspective. And we're going to walk through the same steps from a shopper. We're going to go to the approver, and we'll go ahead and sign it to an approver too, and then to a SideQuest approver. Then we'll wrap up this initial session and answer any further questions as well. So we're going to go back into SideQuest. Let me go ahead and log out, and I'll come back in as the initial shopper here, Franklin Beasley. Okay, and so this particular purchase, we're going to do a catalog purchase, statewide purchase. So as you see on your front screen, you have several icons for different contracted vendors, and these are what we call punch-out vendors. Vendors who've specifically created a website for the state of Georgia. But you also have access at the top here under Browse Contracts, different options to search for other contracts in the system. So you have some contracts that are listed with no items that you again would purchase through a non-catalog purchase, but you will have potentially have contract information here in this particular lookup. So if I were to click on that contracts under the Browse option, I could do a search for different types of contract, different keywords. Let's say I did office and did a search. Be listed with the contracts that pull up that particular keyword. And I could click on the particular link here on the contract number to get more information on that particular contract and a summary of that particular contract and of how to purchase based on that contract as well. So this is a good resource if you're looking for different contracts for different items to do a search and look up how to purchase from that contract. And again, if you having troubles or issues with how to purchase on a contract, please use that search option first and then contact your business advisor for information on how to purchase based on that particular contract, and they'll know how to contact the procurement help if there's any issues with that. But you should find a lot of information within this particular option here of clicking on the link and drilling into the information how to purchase on that particular contract. Okay. So I'll just go back to my home page here, and just I want to briefly show you some things about some of the particular contracts here, this Office Max contract. When the shoppers log in for the very first time and they're choosing to purchase from Office Max or Staple, they'll be prompted to register and get a PIN number. And this particular So they'll be prompted with a screen similar to this for Office Max, where they'll register, get a PIN number, and this PIN number just helps them in referencing particular procurements that they make, so they're tracking down purchase order numbers and things like that. So they'll all be prompted if they order from these particular contracts, Office Max and Staples, very similar setup to go ahead and submit their information and receive a PIN number, which will be unique to them as shoppers. So when you do log in there and you see this information, don't be alarmed. It is as expected. Okay? So I'll just cancel out that particular punch out. And for this particular statewide contract purchase, I'll just do a Staples examples since I have them set up as well. Okay? And this one has logged me out. Okay, so I've now punched out to the Staples Advantage website as a shopper, Franklin Beasley. And I have the option of searching on different product numbers here, or I can just do a basic search in the top search box and click the search. And I'll be given a list of products. I just change the quantity. Let's just choose the first one here. We'll take a quantity of 2 for the Staples purchase. And we'll select a different type of product as well. We'll select 3. Okay. We'll just add to cart. Okay. So I've added 2 particular items to my Staples cart, and you can see my shopping cart within the Staples website has been updated. So if I checked out of Staples, I've now, go down to the bottom and click a submit once checking out. And I've now punched back into the SideQuest website, Teams of the Marketplace SideQuest website, and you see my items were carried over from Staples, similar to what the look and feel from a non-catalog purchase as well. Okay, so we punch back out, and I can do a proceed to checkout. And again, I'm back on the summary screen. So it's no different from a non-catalog purchase at this point than from a contracted purchase as well. The look and feel of it. One I just punched out to the Staples website, then punched back into the SideQuest website. Okay, so again, I have the options to add comments to this particular transaction and name the cart. Okay, so give the cart name and as well give the cart comments as well. Okay, and again have the option to add attachments as well. Won't add them to this particular example. Okay, again I can check my history if I so chose to. See that I've added 2 lines and they were of the punch out variety, and modifications made and comments added, and showing me the comments as well. Okay, so next from a shopper center, I would just go to assign my cart again. We have Sarah here as the preferred, so I won't change that. Just add some comments for Sarah and click assign. Get my confirmation page. Email has now been sent to Sarah for her approval of this particular transaction. And next, we would log out and log back in as Sarah for the next transaction. Okay. Okay, so we're logged in as Sarah. And again, I can go to two different ways. I can, under this action items, I can click on approvals, or up in the top middle of the screen you see carts, and sort of look at draft carts as well that are waiting for me to be made active. So I'll go ahead and click under action items, click on approve, and under my assigned approvals, click on carts assigned to me, and I see my office supplies West cart available for me to activate and work on. Okay, so I click on it, and I see a summary of the transaction. So from Sarah's perspective, I can review the transactions, then proceed to checkout and review any comments that were made, review the history as well. That requisition was assigned from Franklin Beasley to Sarah Gross. Okay, and if everything's fine, I can go ahead and assign my cart further on. And for this particular example, it doesn't require Perkins or IT, so I'll just, from my profile values, I'll go ahead and assign it directly to my PeopleSoft requester for this particular example. And an email has been sent off to my PeopleSoft requester. Okay. And at this point, I'll take questions from a shopper's perspective. So we've created non-catalog transactions, carts, and submitted them for approval and final submission to our PeopleSoft requester. And we've done contracted catalog purchases in like manner, submit them for approvals and submit them to PeopleSoft approver. And the next step we'll go ahead from a PeopleSoft perspective and pull those carts in. But from a shopper's perspective, your job is done with these particular transactions. So, and I'll just take a few questions here. We'll give me a second to pull up, see if there's any questions available. I have a question here. How would we submit a request for a registration for a conference? And that's somewhat of a business process question that I would refer you to your business advisor, how they want to handle those purchases. I'm not quite sure how they're handled now. If they're handled on a paper requisition now, they can be purchased through here. It's just more of a service and submit it through. But I will direct that question towards your business advisor. You can contact Denise on that particular question. And I'll follow up as well with Denise as far as getting you an answer for that. But there's several ways how that's handled in the system here. Okay. Any other questions so far? Okay. If there are no further questions, what I'll do is we'll take a 5-minute break, and we'll allow the shoppers, if you choose to, you can drop off the call for the most part. The next part of the webinar will be directed more towards PeopleSoft users, PeopleSoft requesters, and the buyers. But if you are a shopper and you choose to drop off, you can do that at this time, and we'll reconvene we'll make it